This is Dexter, and he's a bit special. Dexter Morgan works as a blood spatter analyst for the Miami police. In secret, he is a serial killer who targets other murderers. In his personal life, Dexter maintains superficial relationships with his sister Deborah, his girlfriend Rita, and Rita's children, Aster and Cody. In order to appear normal, he has internal conversations with his deceased adoptive father, Harry, who gives him advice on how to kill and manage his personal life. Rita's previous abusive marriage makes her fearful of having sex, which suits Dexter. However, when she overcomes her fears and becomes more in love, Dexter considers ending their relationship, fearing she may discover his true nature. During a therapy session with one of his future victims, psychologist Emmett Meridian, Dexter ends up in a deep state of relaxation and sees a terrifying image of a young boy sitting in a pool of blood. Emotionally disturbed, he runs to Rita for comfort, and they have sex. Meanwhile, a serial killer targeting prostitutes is active in Miami, and Dexter notices that the murderer leaves hidden clues that have personal significance to him. One day, Dexter learns that a man named Joseph Driscoll is his biological father, and he needs to settle the estate and claim the body. Rita's new boyfriend, Rudy Cooper, insists on joining Dexter and Rita to clean the house. Dexter doubts Driscoll is his father, but while cleaning, he finds a thank you card he had sent to his blood donor as a child. Dexter suspects that his father's death was a criminal act, but the body is cremated before he can prove it. The series reveals that Rudy killed Driscoll with an insulin injection to mimic a heart attack. Dexter's rivalry with Paul, Rita's recently paroled ex-husband, becomes violent. Paul attempts to fight Dexter, who knocks him out. To cover his tracks, Dexter injects Paul with heroin and abandons him. Paul fails a drug test and returns to prison. Dexter is then called to analyze a blood-soaked hotel room. The sight of the room triggers a panic attack and brings back memories of his childhood. His research reveals that he witnessed his mother's murder and had a brother named Brian. Eventually, the freezer truck killer, who turns out to be Rudy, kidnaps Deborah after proposing to her, then drugs her and takes her to Dexter's childhood home. When Dexter goes to save Deborah, he recognizes Rudy as his long-lost brother, Brian Moser. Dexter is torn between his desire to kill Rudy and his need to protect Deborah. Rudy tries to convince Dexter to kill Deborah so they can be together, but Dexter refuses. Brian proposes that they start killing together and leads Dexter to a tied-up and drugged Deborah, suggesting she be their first victim. After struggling with his internal conflict, Dexter finally decides to protect Deborah. Later, Brian starts hunting Deborah, but Dexter captures him and ties him to an operating table in Brian's apartment. Dexter slashes Brian's throat in tears, staging the crime to make it look like a suicide. The police find the body and close the case. The season ends with Dexter wondering what it would be like if everyone knew his secrets, imagining himself being celebrated by an adoring crowd. In the second season of Dexter, Dexter is haunted by the murder of his brother, which prevents him from killing again. Deborah, traumatized by the freezer truck killer, moves in with Dexter, complicating his secret life. Sergeant James Doakes suspects Dexter is connected to the killer and begins to follow him. To throw him off, Dexter stops killing for a month. When Dexter is ready to kill again, more than 30 bodies are discovered at a Miami dock, triggering a hunt for the Bay Harbor Butcher. Rita finds out that Dexter lied to her and believes he is a heroin addict. To hide his secret, Dexter attends Narcotics Anonymous meetings, where he meets Lila Tournay, who becomes his sponsor. Lila encourages him to explore his past, and after killing his mother's murderer, their relationship becomes sexual. Dexter confesses everything to Rita, who leaves him. Lila becomes obsessed with Dexter, believing he is her soulmate. Dexter, wanting to be with Aster and Cody, apologizes to Rita, who accepts, and they get back together. Dexter discovers that Lila is a sociopath and asks her to leave him alone. Lila takes revenge by accusing Angel Batista of rape, but he is cleared. Doakes starts to suspect that the Narcotics Anonymous meetings are a cover for a darker secret. Just as he's about to discover the truth, Dexter instigates a workplace altercation, leading to Doakes' suspension. In The British Invasion, Doakes surprises Dexter while he's disposing of a body in the Everglades. Dexter captures Doakes and tries to frame him. Lila discovers the cabin where Dexter is holding Doakes and blows it up, killing Doakes to protect Dexter. The police find Doakes' body with Dexter's tools, concluding that Doakes was the Bay Harbor Butcher, relieving Dexter. Dexter pretends he wants to flee with Lila, but she discovers he plans to kill her. Lila kidnaps Aster and Cody and sets fire to her apartment with them inside. Dexter saves the children and escapes. A few weeks later, he finds Lila in Paris, thanks her for showing him his true self, and kills her. In the third season of Dexter, Dexter finds his life manageable until he discovers that Rita is pregnant. They consider aborting the pregnancy, but Rita decides to keep the baby, regardless of whether Dexter wants to be the father. Fearing becoming a father, Dexter considers letting Rita handle the child on her own. However, Deborah convinces him that he would be a great father. After several failed proposals, Dexter proposes again, imitating a criminal's declaration of love. Rita finally accepts with the blessing of her children. Meanwhile, Dexter kills an unknown man in self-defense while attempting to kill a murderous drug trafficker named Freebo. He befriends the man's brother, Miguel Prado, a popular assistant district attorney. While tracking Freebo at night, Prado runs into Dexter, covered in Freebo's blood. Dexter claims he killed Freebo in self-defense. Prado offers Dexter Freebo's blood-soaked shirt as proof of his silence. The two men become closer, and Dexter even makes Prado his confidant. Prado gradually discovers that Dexter is a serial killer, and they start killing together, following Dexter's code. When Prado deviates from the code by killing a rival defense attorney, it sparks a power struggle and blackmail between them. Dexter discovers that the blood on the shirt is actually bovine blood, meaning Prado was using it as an excuse to kill. Furious and hurt, Dexter decides to kill Prado. Warned by Prado, a serial killer known as the Butcher, who is looking for Freebo, kidnaps Dexter on his wedding day. Faced with certain death, Dexter decides to fight for his life and to see his son. He frees himself, kills the Butcher by snapping his neck, and throws his body into an arriving police car. Dexter kills Prado and marries Rita, with Deborah as a witness. During the season, Dexter justifies killing people who don't fit his code, including his old friend Camilla Fig, who is dying of cancer and asks him to end her suffering. In the 4th season of Dexter, Rita gives birth to a baby boy, Harrison. Dexter is thrilled to have a child, but his new responsibilities as a father leave him too exhausted to kill. He increasingly struggles to hide his double life, causing tension with Rita and Astor, who is now a teenager. At Rita's request, they begin couples therapy. After his first murder of the season, Dexter falls asleep at the wheel and crashes, causing him to suffer short-term memory loss and forget where he hid the body of his victim. He eventually finds the body and disposes of it. When retired Special Agent Frank Lundy is murdered, Dexter sets out to catch the Trinity Killer, who has been committing ritual murders for 30 years. To his surprise, Dexter discovers that the Trinity Killer is actually Arthur Mitchell, a respected family man and pillar of his community. Dexter takes on the alias Kyle Butler and infiltrates Mitchell's personal life to understand how he juggles his family responsibilities with his secret life as a serial killer. Dexter repeatedly delays the moment to kill Mitchell, evades the police's attempts to arrest him, and even saves Mitchell's life when he attempts suicide. However, as Dexter gets to know Mitchell, he realizes he was wrong about him. After spending Thanksgiving with the Mitchell family, Dexter discovers that his future mentor is an abusive tyrant and his family lives in fear. After a violent confrontation with Mitchell, Dexter insists that they have nothing in common and believes he can control his dark side once and for all. Returning home, Dexter arranges a late honeymoon with Rita. He sends Rita ahead and traps Mitchell while he attempts to flee the town. Just before Dexter kills him with a hammer, Mitchell tells him that Dexter won't be able to control his violent impulses for long, and that it's already over. The same words Mitchell says to his victims before killing them. When Dexter returns home, he calls Rita's phone to check if she and Harrison have arrived. He immediately hears Rita's phone ringing in the house. Harrison starts crying, and Dexter is horrified to find Rita dead in the bathtub, with Harrison on the floor in a pool of blood. She was the last victim of the Trinity Killer. In the 5th season of Dexter, Dexter is shocked and consumed with guilt after Rita's death. He holds Harrison close as the police arrive in response to his call, where he says, "It was me." Although he means that he caused her death by revealing his identity to Trinity, the police interpret it as a direct confession of guilt. However, the FBI quickly clears Dexter, as he was with the police at Arthur Mitchell's house at the time of Rita's murder. The next day, Dexter is numb, unable to simulate emotions or grief. In an attempt to disconnect, he meets Rankin, a rude and obnoxious man. When Rankin insults Rita, Dexter kills him in a fit of rage. Harry tells Dexter that this act is the first human thing he has seen since Rita's death. Astor and Cody, devastated by Rita's death, go to live with their grandparents. Dexter, struggling, hires an Irish nanny to take care of Harrison while he searches for his next victim. He chooses Boyd Fowler, a convicted rapist linked to a series of missing women. Dexter kills Fowler but discovers that his last victim, Lumen Pierce, played by Julia Stiles, is still alive. After hesitating to kill her to eliminate a potential witness, Dexter decides to protect her. Lumen takes time to trust Dexter, but eventually realizes that that he means her no harm. She reveals that Fowler was not the only one who had raped her. Lumen begs Dexter to help her track down her other rapists, and he reluctantly agrees. They track down a child dentist and the head of security for a prominent speaker, Jordan Chase. The plot reveals that Chase was also one of Lumen's rapists. Detective Joey Quinn, who believes Dexter killed Rita, is about to uncover Dexter's secrets. To occupy the police, Dexter leads them to Fowler. He meets Chase personally and discovers a photo proving that all of Lumen's rapists have known each other since childhood. Dexter finds a vial of blood that Chase wears around his neck. After analysis, he discovers that the blood belongs to Emily Birch, the first victim of the rape club.